the overview of quite a lot of the public and people that I deal with in the other reaches of conservation is that farms are bad and gamekeepers are just pure evil. So let's challenge that perception, let's show them what we can do, what can actually be done. Hi, my name's Rupert Brewer and welcome to the Bisterne Estate. So I've been here for 13 years now, this is my 13th year. Initially employed as a gamekeeper for the estate, and that has evolved into what we now title Game and Wildlife Manager. So conservation is at the fore of what I do now. I took on the job with the knowledge that I had a deep love for wildlife and conservation, and I looked upon it as an opportunity, and I had a good discussion with the landowner at the time, and he was very concerned about handing over the estate to the next generation, which we're currently doing at the moment, but he would hand it over with less species than what he'd received it in. So at that time I said to him, well, we can do something about that. Let's reverse declines, let's try and reintroduce some species. The Waders for Real project is technically finished, but we still carry on as though the project is going because it's the first project that I got involved with. It was the catalyst for all these other projects, so you know, that's my pride and joy. So that was looking at the whole Wame Valley in terms of the declines in species like lapwing and redshank and the rate of decline and how they were going to disappear from our landscape pretty quickly. So the decision was made that collectively throughout the valley, the landowners and farmers and gamekeepers wanted to do something about that. So this is what we call the Wattens meadows, again wet meadows, but this is our main meadow system for our breeding lapwing and redshank. We use a lot of non-lethal methods of predation management, so especially in this meadow we put out a big electric fence, so that's 2 hectares, and that can also help protect the nests from protected species such as otters and badgers. In terms of the scale of the project, we've gone from around about 10 pairs of lapwing out here till now where we're at about 35 to 36 pairs of lapwing throughout these meadows, and the redshank have responded even better, where we've gone from 3 to 4 pairs and we're now into the sort of 14 pairs of redshank throughout these valleys. So I worked with the Wessex Rivers Trust looking at some flood alleviation work. We've got a little village down the road which was getting flooded with these climate change and heavier rainfalls and seasonal changes. So we've looked at rebending some of the streams that we've got here, holding water back, at peak rainfall, and that's also created habitat as well, and it's been an opportunity to increase biodiversity on the estate. This was a Victorian straightened stream, so we've looked at trying to put some wiggles back into it, but also taking out some of the peak flow with these spin wall pipes into some drainage ditches. We've winched in some trees there to put some roots in just to slow the flow down. It's all about taking out that peak flow so it prevents flooding further downstream in the little villages. We've also, through stewardship, managed to remove all the rhododendron from here. That was overhanging the stream completely and shading it. So that's now gone, and you can see from the edges it's starting to recover now, and it's beginning to look really, really good. This is a really important New Forest stream for spawning sea trout, but also by removing the rhododendron, by slowing the water up, we're now getting species like kingfishers through here, we're getting dragonflies of various species, but also the shrub layer is returning. It's great. So this is the eastern edge of the estate. We're on to our heathland, a New Forest heathland. We've got some grazing cattle in behind us to maintain the habitat. Completely different set of species you're going to meet out here, both floristic and amphibians and reptiles and mammalian, different species out here, so it just generates so much interest. Wherever you are in the UK, you're going to have something special there, or the potential. So here we're historic heathland. We have got species like sand lizards and smooth snakes, so I got the Amphibian and Reptile Conservation Trust in to see how they were faring. So managed to get Species Survival Fund money to improve habitat, but linking up habitat, working with our neighbours to increase the habitat range, so you get this resilience for climate change and that for those species. Our wetlands, we have about just short of 400 acres of wet meadows, and it began with the Waders for Real project. That started to focus our minds on what we had in terms of wetlands, what could we do more, what could we get back, how can we manage this better. So that was a catalyst for that, and we've gone on to various other projects within that. We were aware that historically we had water vole population here which had disappeared, largely due to American mink, which were fur farmed right on our doorstep here, and were released and escaped sort of in the 80s, and it's pretty much decimated voles and a lot of the wildlife. So an opportunity arose where there was a development and they needed to relocate some water voles from that site to a site of good habitat, and where mink management was already underway, so we managed to get those water voles here. It was a very small number, but through funding from the Environment Agency we managed to bolster that with some captive bred animals. So we're looking at about 150 water voles have been released here over the last sort of 5 years, and we've now got a very good stable population emerging from that, which is immensely satisfying to reintroduce a species that was once here. It's a proud moment for me. All of these ditches have been reprofiled. So in the words of reprofiling, a lot of ditches were cleaned out very square. So we've tilted the banks out very carefully, or just on one side. A lot of them had become silted up at the headwaters, so we opened that up to get water back in. So yeah, hundreds of metres of ditches. A lot of it had been full of willow scrub, so we pulled out tons and tons of that as well with the machine. To reintroduce water voles, but also by doing that it benefited wader birds. So if you have too many trees too enclosed, you won't get lapwing nesting there. They don't like it, they can't see. So by pulling out the willow and opening up the ditches, the next year we had lapwing back out here nesting straight away. So that was really good benefit of doing the project.
How many water voles do you think you have there now?
I think we're looking at a latest survey. It was minded something like 1 every 30 metres. They're quite territorial. So 1 every 50 metres is quite a good definition of a sustainable population. We're down to, because it's A1 habitat, we're down to sort of 1 every 30 metres. So yeah, and they're here. This was the main release site here, and we're now picking them up 2 miles from here now. Yeah. I think the biggest misconception about improving wildlife is the reliance on habitat alone. We live in a manipulated landscape. We have to everyone has to accept that we are having an impact, positive and negative, on certain species, and that then leads to problems. So habitat alone, and I know that from our own projects where we've got A1 habitat in large scale, and yet we were still seeing declines in lapwing and redshank. So things like species management has to be a major factor, and it has to be pushed and funded. I think it's very important when you talk about species management that you have justification for doing that management on those species. So for the last 10 years I've kept an accurate diary of hours spent and methodology and technology that I've used for the management of foxes. And this is to help understand the impact of foxes and the immigration levels, but also my impact on breeding, the successful breeding waders here, and the management of species management of foxes. Yeah, species recovery is achievable. It just requires motivation and somebody to do something. So I always say somebody somewhere's got to pick up a spade. We were very good at talking about landscape recovery and creating a project and talking about it, but at the end of the day somebody's got to really pick up a spade and start digging, and we need more people to do that.
Could you imagine yourself doing anything else?
I certainly couldn't work in an office. I think I'd be looking out the window the whole time. But no, this is, I'm extremely privileged to be here, and there's a massive amount of opportunity, and I'm just going to grab it with both hands.